I need to make sure that you are caught up on what's going on with our Epiphany work. Many of you were part of a firm blessing event on middle of August. We looked at ministries and events that had touched the lives of persons in congregation and appreciation of the work of this church. In September, a number of you were part of a retreat in which we spent a couple of days looking at the detailed assessment we had received the last 10 years of the life of our church, the realities of our mission, our demographics of who our neighbors are, especially focusing in on who's within a 7-minute drive of Kings Highway. We began to look at what is a church who is in mission to its members and its community. What does that look like? And we began to talk about what does it mean not to be just a member of a church, but to truly be a disciple. And thinking about our leadership to not just manage a church, but to transform lives. A number of you responded to some questions that we carried out into our community. City planning, police, schools, Byrd High School, health care. Some of you looked at the reality of our present financial and property and people resources. And some of you looked at the opportunities that are available to us based on local demographics. We have a detailed report of these. Extra copies, let me know if you'd like to have one of these today. We'll make more if we run out. Tons of information in there about who is around us and what are their needs. We got back together on Friday night and talked about what gives us the energy to do ministry. What are we passionate about? And what are we best at? And what are the resources that we have? What can we do with money and building and people? And yesterday we began to take a creative look at what might be our future story in 5 years. And persons wrote about where we would be in 5 years and what was going on. And one theme that kept emerging from this is dealing with students and youth, because that fits our passion and our resources and our people, and developing ministries for the various students across the street, elementary school, graduate students at LSU. We don't know where this is going to come out at this time, and all of you will have more of a chance to be involved in it, but we are excited. It may be a new chapter in ministry just getting ready to unfold here at Kings Highway. And a lot of you are ready for a change. And you're ready for us to begin recapturing that sense of mission that all people can participate in and recognize what we are doing in this community. So Jesus was determined to go to Jerusalem. And along the way, he encountered a couple of persons. One was a blind beggar named Bartimaeus. And another one was a tax collector named Zacchaeus. Today, I read scripture that lifts up that passage, and Ellie pretty well explained it. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through it, and a man was there named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector, and he was rich. And he was trying to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was short in stature. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree to see him, because Jesus was going to pass that way. And when Jesus came to that place, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, hurry and come down. I must stay at your house today. So he hurried down and was happy to welcome him. And those who saw it began to grumble and said, he has gone to be the guest of one who is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, look, half of my possessions, Lord, I will give to the poor. If I have defrauded anyone of anything, I will pay them back 4 times. And Jesus said, today salvation has come to this house. For he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek out and to save the lost. We know a little bit about this incident and this man named Zacchaeus. He lived in Jericho, which happens to be the oldest continually inhabited city in the world. Settlements go back 12,000 years. It has been extensively excavated by archaeologists. They have found remnants of 70 huts that were 15 feet in circumference that go back 11,000 years. And you remember in Sunday school about the wall of Jericho and how the wall fell down and the people of Israel moved into the promised land. It was a city that was built upon springs, and so it was a desirable place to live, and it was urban, so we know that Zacchaeus was something of an urbanite. And we know his name started with a Z, so he was always the last one called upon. Aaron, in synagogue school, give you a report. Abel, Joseph, Solomon, he was always the wise guy. And finally they get to Zacchaeus, and everybody's tired of hearing the reports by then. They want to go out to the courtyard and play basketball, and of course Zacchaeus would have been the last one chosen because he was short. He grew up to be a chief tax collector. There's a lot of money involved in that. Because the chief tax collector was a franchise operation. He worked for the Roman government. He bought that job. In fact, he paid the taxes assessed ahead of time. And then it was up to him to collect as much money as he could from the people in his district. And if he collected more than what was the franchise, well, good for him. He made a lot of money. And it said that he was rich. And that we know he was short. Maybe you remember the flannel board in Sunday school, and we have Zacchaeus showing up. He's kind of small, and then we have the sycamore tree, and then we have Jesus, and all of that. And we have a little song. Zacchaeus was a wee little man was he. Climbed up in a sycamore tree he wanted to see. And then the Lord came by and said, Zacchaeus, you come down, for I'm going to your house today. I'm going to your house today. A few of you join. Well, now, there's at least one person that is height challenged to comment on this. He's my favorite character in the Bible. And, children relate to that because they're always looking up to adults, And so it's nice to hear about a man that's short stature. Anyway, okay. So he was rich, and he was willing to climb a tree, and he was called out by Jesus. Strangely, his response of being called out by Jesus was interesting. I mean, why did he want so bad to see Jesus? Had he heard that Jesus was a friend of tax collectors and sinners. Who was this guy that seemed to be so important and all these crowds followed, but he still cared about people like me? And his response was, well, I'm going to sell half my possessions and give to the poor. Had he heard about Jesus continually talking about we need to help the poor? Was that why? And he said, if I have cheated anybody, I'll pay them back 4 times over. And Jesus said, today salvation has come to this house. For Zacchaeus, too, is a son of Abraham. He was on the fringes of their society. He was looked down upon because he cooperated with the Roman government. But Jesus pointed out, he too is like you. He's a son of Abraham. I wonder why he was so desperate to see Jesus. Have you been ever feeling desperate to see Jesus? Did you ever have a problem that just overwhelmed you? A tragedy, a disaster, a vexing issue, a huge temptation? You just would hope to see Jesus to help you sort that out? And the crowd was in the way? He couldn't see because people were blocking his vision. And the crowd can sure get in the way. Our friends can take us down places we never choose to go by ourselves because we had better sense. Our crowd can be moving along in directions that we don't really care for. We don't like some of the comments they've made. We don't like some of their Facebook posts, but we kind of go along with them because it's the crowd. He wanted to see Jesus so desperately that he climbed a tree. Well, we think, well, he must have been in pretty good shape. But it was a scandalous thing to do for a man to climb a tree. That's something that little children did. You remember the story of the prodigal son and how when this prodigal returned to his home, the father ran to greet him. We think, he's forgiven this boy that's stolen half his possessions and wasted them. But the scandalous thing for the people hearing that story, the most scandalous thing, was the father ran. Men didn't do that. That was putting shame upon the family. It was gauche. It was not practicing etiquette. It was a discouraging thing to see a man run. And here we have a man that climbs a tree. And people who witness this, what is the matter? This man is willing to bring shame upon his family by doing such a thing. He was so desperate that he was willing to climb a tree to get a perspective on Jesus. You ever need a new angle of understanding Jesus? We're going to sing a hymn a little bit more about Jesus, I would know. Some of the things I know about Jesus are a little disturbing. I mean, Jesus asks something from us. Jesus invites us into a ministry that is not always easy. And he tells us it's not going to be easy. How much do we really want to know? Or we just kind of want to know some surface things about, well, we're forgiven and saved, and that's enough. We don't want to really have to change our behavior by knowing more about Jesus. Zacchaeus risked looking like an idiot so he could see more about Jesus. And Jesus saw him and called him out and tells him to hurry. Does Jesus need to tell you to hurry to get your spiritual life going? As I've told you, I came here as a pusher. I didn't know how much time I would have with you. So I've been pushing to get this done and that done. And so far, it's gone over. Somebody said yesterday, you came to give us a good kick in the pants. Well, I'm glad at least one person appreciated that. We have issues in our lives that we have let lie for years, thinking, oh, well, we'll get that sorted out someday. Oh, we'll figure that out. Does Jesus call us to hurry, maybe get some things done? And when did we let Jesus come into our house? Just on the spur of the moment. You know, before we had a chance to clean all the corners. Just let him come in and see how we really live. When I started in ministry, it was not uncommon to just drop by people's homes. Pastors did that in those days. And it was okay for people to have a pastor drop by. You don't do that anymore. People are more private and possessive. And the pastor is not so important. And, you know, it's just, if we want the pastor to come, we want to be ready. And actually, we don't want the pastor to come mostly anyway, but if we do, we're gonna you know, polish the silver and clean the corners and all that. Please, give me a break. Just let's be real. And would you like Jesus to show up in your house today? And it said that Zacchaeus scrambled out of the tree. He was filled with delight to take Jesus home. Does your relationship with God put a smile on your face? Do you have delight in your soul? And the crowd is indignant and grumble. What did Jesus see in Zacchaeus? A great example. I mean, the most disliked person in the town, perhaps. And he said, I'm coming to your house today. Salvation has come to your house. You are truly a son of Abraham. I wonder, was that the best day ever in Zacchaeus' life? When salvation comes, it comes abundantly. It comes without condition or exception. It comes to Zacchaeus, who's trying to shed his sinful life and make reparations to those he has gone. It comes because Jesus sees in every person what is so much richer and deeper and fuller than our stingy eyes will see apart from him. More about Jesus, I would know. Jesus, may he know more about me. Let us share our hands.